Jermaine and Janet, bringing back the nostalgia. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you like hearing stories from the 90s, subscribe. Let's get into it. In celebration of Janet's 40-year career in the music industry, Lifetime and A&E have done a documentary about her life. Jermaine Dupri made an appearance in the documentary and had nothing but good things to say about his ex. Janet Jackson and Jermaine Dupri were one of the 90s most iconic couples, especially in R&B and hip-hop. Many believe that they may find their way back to each other. Bennifer is reunited again, so anything is possible. Speaking of Janet in the documentary, Jermaine said, "You always need a Janet Jackson in your life. She's one of the most iconic triple threats. She makes music. She's an actress. She can actually do whatever she wants to do. Her legacy is just one of the most iconic we have ever seen. She has been so many different layers and can be so many different layers. She's tough. She's not a pushover. She can get loud. Janet Jackson doesn't need to do anything to get you to say anything else. She's one of the sexiest women in the world. I think she gave more women confidence to try everything. I feel like we're always going to have a friendship, regardless of what I'm doing or who's in my life, or regardless of what's going on. I didn't need Janet Jackson to amplify my life, but I feel like it did." Wow, that's really nice that he said that. So let's take a look back at each of their history and how they ended up together and what went wrong. So when Janet was still in her teens, she married James DeBarge of the famous DeBarge family. They actually eloped to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and James's uncle officiated the ceremony. It's believed that drugs were the reason for the breakdown of the marriage. He said, "Okay, I'll be right back. I'm sitting in a hotel room in Grand Rapids, Michigan, by myself, just 18. For 3 hours, he never came back." Janet was only 16 when they met, and James was in his late teens. They bonded from the fact that they both came from iconic musical families. James had the hit song, Rhythm of the Night, while Janet had her hit with Rhythm Nation. Apparently in the 80s, you had to have rhythm in your title to have a hit song.
Like Janet, he was part of a family singing sensation that topped the Billboard charts with their big hit, Rhythm of the Night. Let's talk about your big rebellion. You got married, James DeBarge. You said partly because you wanted out.
Out, yes. I wanted to be on my own, get out of the house.
There was no other way that you were going to be able to leave the home?
No, not at that age.
But James DeBarge had a secret. He was battling drug addiction, and the marriage failed in less than 3 months.
He was my first love. And just being so young and not really knowing what life is really all about, just thinking I could change him if I only could do this and that, and not realizing that it was something that he had to do and want for himself.
James joked in a documentary, saying, quote, "I don't know why anyone would trust me." And he said that they were very much in love at the time. He said, "I just had to be with her all the time. I think we were just so both in love with each other that we just needed to block everyone else out." And then Janet finally addressed a rumor that's been going on for over 40 years. The rumor that she had a secret daughter. In case you were unaware, the rumor began when Janet and James first got married. The marriage was very hush-hush and seemed quite rushed. So people jumped to conclusions and assumed that maybe there was a pregnancy involved. Many believe she had the baby and gave the baby away, possibly to a relative. They actually believed she had gotten pregnant while on the show Fame. This rumor would not go away, and it did send people down a rabbit hole, me included. So Janet has a few nieces, and some believed that the baby was either given to her sister Rebe or her brother Randy. Randy's daughter, Stevana, really looks like Janet. She's strikingly beautiful and very smart. She went to Harvard, and many were convinced that she was actually Janet's daughter. Janet maintains that she does not have a daughter. She cleared up the rumor and wholeheartedly denies it. She said she did gain a little bit of weight while she was filming Fame, so that maybe didn't help matters, but she denies the rumours, saying the following, quote, "How could I keep a child from their father? I could never do that. That's not right." So according to Janet, there was no big cover-up, there's no daughter, she has one son, and that's her only child. And of course, her niece does look a lot like her, but they are relatives, to be fair. Janet went on to marry Rene Elizondo Jr. in 1991, but apparently, while they were engaged, she had a relationship with Bobby Brown, allegedly. So according to Bobby, in his autobiography, Every Little Step, he and Janet dated in the late 80s. This was also depicted in his recent BET miniseries. He said that he really fell for her, saying, quote, "I really fell for Miss Jackson. I never usually fall for women that fast, but she was an exception. Maybe it had something to do with my childhood crush, or maybe it was because she was one of the finest and most sought after women in the world at the time. I don't know what it was, but she had me open." He said he bought her a puppy, but she couldn't keep the puppy because the relationship was supposed to be secret. So where would she explain getting the puppy from? He also bought her a car, but she couldn't keep the car for the same reason. Bobby claims that Janet's father was aware of the relationship, but forbade her from seeing him and didn't approve of the relationship. He said the reason why her father didn't approve was because he was, quote, "too dark." In the book, he said that she explained to him that she didn't want to be with him because her father didn't approve. And he said at this point he lost it and basically threw her out of the hotel room even before she had a chance to grab her clothes. Then he said he at least had the decency to rethink and throw a blanket out there. This was going to be depicted in the mini-series, but apparently they decided to cut out this scene at the last minute. To this day, Janet has never spoken about Bobby Brown and their alleged relationship. They did appear on a magazine cover together, but that's about it. Soon after Janet married Renee, she began filming for the movie Poetic Justice, starring Tupac Shakur and Omar Epps, and many others. Leading up to the release of the movie, there were a lot of rumours about tensions rising between Janet and Tupac. Some believe that the two of them clashed because Janet was a little snooty perhaps. Then reports began to surface, saying that Janet had asked Tupac to take an AIDS test before a love scene. Check out my video on that. But Tupac basically said if he wasn't going to have actual relations with Janet, he ain't taking no test. To this day, many actually believe that Janet's husband at the time, Renee, was actually behind this request because he didn't want his wife just kissing anybody. But the late John Singleton actually went on to reveal that the whole idea was his and it was all for publicity. He said that he knew Tupac would flip out when asked to take an AIDS test, and that would drum up a lot of publicity for the movie, and apparently it worked because the movie grossed over $11 million in its opening weekend. As for Tupac and Janet, Janet said that the two of them got along very well and she actually loved working with him. Tupac even had a pet name for her, Square. Janet actually said that she adored him. She was even one of the first people to see his infamous Thug Life tattoo, as he had gotten it done while filming Poetic Justice.
Pac was crazy, and I adored him so, and he was one way, I think, the way people saw him, and not to say that that wasn't him, but he was also had another side to him where he was fun and silly, and he used to call me Square all the time.
He used to call you a Square?
Square, what's up, Square?
Unfortunately, after filming Wrapped, the two of them were unable to stay in touch. They did exchange numbers, and Tupac said that he thought he had a friend for life. However, Janet ended up changing her number.
I mean, I probably wasn't intentional. Everybody changed their number, but I mean, it was so. I really thought I made a friend. I thought it was, I know Janet Jackson for life. You know, so the movie was always like, boo, this number has been changed. And it was like a movie. I mean, it was like the day after the movie Wrapped. I did like, I said, man, niggas like, and the last day I saw him, I saw Renee and saw her boyfriend. He's like, we're gonna go play the guns with the paint guns. We'll play paint guns. All right, I'm gonna call you. All right, this number's been changed. I said, oh, okay. So it was an act. Nah, but I think that's just, whatever.
But Tupac said there was no hard feelings and that people do change their numbers. If a celebrity had their number revealed, they had to change it. And usually that happened quite frequently. The two of them had very different personalities. Janet would show up on time. He called her square because she was quite shy, quiet and reserved. Whereas Tupac, was the life of the party. He partied a little bit on set. Sometimes he would be late and, obviously a lot more laid back. So they definitely had different personalities, but ultimately, according to both of them, they did enjoy working together. So Janet and Renee were introduced to each other in 1987 by LaToya Jackson. They first had a working relationship. Renee was a backup dancer, and he then began to write music. Then they had a romantic relationship, leading up to their wedding in 1991. Renee ended up filing for divorce in 2000, and there wasn't a divorce settlement for another 3 years. The marriage itself was actually kept secret for the most part. Janet said that she had spent her whole life in the public eye, coming from such a famous family, and that was the one part that she wanted to keep for herself. She said, "I was willing to do anything to protect what we had, because I feel that it's so difficult in this business, the whole marriage thing. Irreconcilable differences was cited as the reason for the divorce. They actually had a prenup, but Renee contested it, saying that he signed it under duress. He initially wanted to go for $25 million, but it's believed that he walked away with $10 million from the marriage." Soon after divorcing Renee, Janet began dating Jermaine Dupri, and they were together for around 8 or 9 years. Jermaine is a rapper and producer, famous for his own hits, such as Welcome to Atlanta and Money Ain't a Thing. He is behind many hit singles of the 90s and early 2000s, including Mariah Carey's Sweetheart, Jagged Edge's Where the Party At, and many others. Jermaine also discovered Escape and almost signed TLC. He wrote for TLC even before they became TLC.
I started writing these songs, and I wrote a song for TL, and it was called I Got It Going On, right? And the way I was singing the demo, I was like, I want you to sing it like this. And she was like, I don't.
You can't sing, JD.
Yeah, you can't sing, and that's low. Don't nobody want to hear me sing like that. They want to hear me sing. I'm like, nah, you got to be cool. Like, you got to sing down here where I'm at. You hear where I'm at? You got to sing where I'm at. So Tion started mimicking my demo, and that's how she got that sound, the T-Bar sound that people know of today.
He has also written for Usher, Alicia Keys' Destiny's Child. He has been involved in 33 #1 hits and 56 top 10 hits. He also worked on Janet's 6th studio album, 20YO. The 2006 album went platinum and reached top 3 on Billboard. However, the album did receive mixed reviews, and some people criticised Jermaine's input on the album. Speaking of the criticism, Jermaine said, "I saw a lot of fans say JD messed up her career with that album. That album almost sold 400,000 copies in its first week and produced a #1 hit. I don't know why that's not a success." Janet and Jermaine met through a mutual friend, and they used to exchange messages back and forth. He ended up buying her a pager so they could stay in touch, and a romantic relationship developed from there. And I guess he also alluded to her being square because he said he introduced her to a whole new world. He implied that Janet had somewhat of a sheltered life, despite being such a huge celebrity. He would show her a good time in Atlanta.
Jermaine and I have been seeing each other for 5 years, and I feel his unconditional love. I love everything about him. He's just real, and very loving. I'm truly happy. So funny because people that I don't even know will come up to me and say, we would always see your smile, but could tell that you weren't happy deep down inside. And now when we look at you, your eyes just beam with love and happiness.
And obviously, Jermaine was a huge musical talent, so they had that in common too. Jermaine pointed out that their relationship lasted longer than Janet's marriages. The relationship ended to everyone's surprise, as they were such an iconic couple. When it did end, it was blamed on distance. Janet was in LA and Jermaine was in Atlanta. He said neither one of them were willing to relocate, so they would see each other a couple of weeks at a time. In the 8 or 9 years that they were together, they actually never lived together either. However, in the documentary, Janet actually confirmed that it was in fact cheating that was the main reason for the breakup. She said she heard he was cheating, and Jermaine seemed to blame her beauty for the cheating. He said dating one of the most beautiful women in the world attracted more women. So really, he's a victim if you think about it. One of the weird things is that dating Janet attracts other women. Girls wanted to talk to me more because I was dating her, and I'm a man. Well, at least he admitted to it, and he did admit that he was reckless in the relationship in that regards. Janet became a mother for the first time at 50, having a son with her third husband, Wissam Al Manna. They divorced after 5 years of marriage in 2017, just 3 months after the birth of their son. When Janet and Jermaine were together, Janet revealed that she had hoped to have children with him and said that she was happy to have as many as he would allow.
You're thinking about children?
I'd love to, God willing, at some point. I guess it's to kind of be soon. I'm 40, huh?
Yeah. Do you want children together? You do?
Of course.
You want many children? One child?
We're going to do the Jacksons over.
Going to do the Jacksons together.
But she said he was a workaholic, and Jermaine was essentially married to his music. Because they were long distance, they had to make the most of their time together. But she said when he would land into LA, he would go straight off to the club or to the studio and basically didn't have much time for her. So cheating wasn't the only reason for the breakup. She said, quote, his girlfriend was his work. She said that she never felt that he was ready to fully commit, which is quite telling considering they were together for such a long time. So when fans saw Jermaine at Janet's 56th birthday party, many said that he was, quote, trying to sneak his way back in. So a surprise birthday party was held for Janet on the 15th of May in Vegas, and many fans couldn't help but notice Jermaine Dupri there. And one of the most noticeable comments made by a fan was that Jermaine was, quote, trying to sneak his way back in. So the two of them obviously still speak very highly of each other and have referred to one another as friends. They have not said anything about getting back together or even given fans a reason to suspect that that was happening. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe Janet actually lives in London so that her son could be near to his father. So the long distance thing would be even worse this time around. So do you think he's trying to sneak his way back in, or is he just supporting an old friend? And are there any other couples from the 90s that you would like to see back together? Or is it better to leave that in the past? Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below. You know I read the comments. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.